Hello, myself Dr. Rajeshwari, working as a resident in Narayana Health City, Majumdarsha Medical Center in Obstetrics and Gynecology Department. Here, on the special occasion of Women's Day, we have Dr. Lavanya Kiran with us. She is a senior consultant in Narayana Health City, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. She is an infertility specialist and a robotic surgeon. Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Nowadays, most of the women after puberty and in the reproductive age group and after menopause also facing so many health problems related to gynec problems requiring a gynecologist need. So, ma'am is here to clarify our doubts regarding female health related issues. Um, Ma'am, what are the common health problems facing by the women around 20 to 40 years of age group?
I think it's a wonderful topic that you have chosen, Dr. Rajeshwari. On this occasion of the International Women's Day of 2021, I think it is Choose the Challenges. That is celebrating womanhood, celebrating our achievements, and also giving a visibility to our achievements is the whole theme of 2021 while we celebrate the Women's Day. And wonderful topic, like I mentioned, 20 to 40 years of age, women go through a lot of problems even through day-to-day basis. Coming to special gynec problems that they see at the age of 20, you need to remember, while she's the daddy's princess, she's entering her womanhood. She has been in the shadow of her daddy. Like I said, she's the princess of the family. Now she enters 20, she ends up with a lot of gynec issues that she will be dealing with. And most common that we see in our OPD is the irregular cycles that they usually come up with. So whenever we're talking about irregular cycles, I want to assure all of you that anybody who gets a period between 22 and 35 days is still considered normal. So don't get apprehensive. Irregularity of 2 or 3 days is nothing to be getting apprehensive about. So if your periods are between 22 and 35 days, it's still considered normal unless it's too erratic that you get it like twice in a month, or you're not getting for like more than 1.5 months. That is when you need to be worried. So irregularity of periods is something that we need to be worried. The other concern that these little girls go through is having a painful period. Somebody who is active will not end up with this kind of a painful period. So here's a message for all of you that you need to be active. People who are active will end up with lesser number of painful periods. You can choose a lot of activities like swimming, cycling, lot of things, and you just passed through the lockdown. You can still do jogging, skipping at the same spot at the comfort of your home. Being active reduces a lot of irregularities of the cycle, the periods, and even the dysmenorrhea is what we call when we call about painful periods. So these things are very common. So especially in this age group of 20 to 30 and even the reproductive age group, sometimes even 40 years old females.
What is exactly polycystic ovarian disease? Because we are seeing most of the people coming to the gynecologist with irregular cycles. So after evaluating, they are diagnosed as having polycystic ovarian syndrome. What it is exactly, how we have to treat that?
Sure. Yeah. So when we're talking about irregular cycles, before we jump into polycystic ovary, I would say there are several causes. Like I said, it could be nothing but just a physiological change that the girl is going through, and that is why she has an irregular cycle. Especially if they're very apprehensive, we ask them to do an ultrasound, and on this ultrasound, sometimes we do detect polycystic ovary. There are terminologies called polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I would prefer to refrain from using a syndrome because it's scary. If I tell you have a syndrome, then you're getting worried about it. So let's remove the syndrome part. So let's talk about polycystic ovary. So please remember again that anybody goes through a scan between 20 and 40 years of an age, we can see almost 30 to 40% of the girls can have polycystic ovary. So it's reassuring that you're not the only one with polycystic ovary. So we have 20 to 40% of the people having polycystic ovary. So per se, when we say polycystic ovary, is nothing but the ovaries are a little more bulkier and then instead of 5 to 6 follicles inside the ovary, you have more than 10 follicles in the ovary. This is all that means it's a polycystic ovary. But the problem is, here with the polycystic ovary, we need to understand it is an endocrinological involvement which happens. So it's a spectra of disorders which can happen with no symptoms to irregular periods. Some people can end up with a lot of acne, hirsutism, that is excessive hair growth on the facial region, darkening of the neck, and sometimes this polycystic ovary can lead into infertility as they progress, especially in a little obese people. So this is why I said, working out and lifestyle modification is very important.
Okay, ma'am. How can we treat this polycystic ovaries?
Very difficult question that you're asking me, Dr. Rajeshwari, because treatment per se for a polycystic ovary, I would say nil. But then, even before you think of a treatment, like I said, lifestyle modification is the best empirical treatment that you can always think of. So imagine anytime a girl walks in, always try to educate them that they need to be active throughout their life. And when we say lifestyle, we need to remember it's not only the exercise that we are talking about, it's the diet that you need to concentrate. Cut down on your calories, be active. Any form of activity is good. You won't believe it, even a 15 to 20 minutes of walk per day itself is going to reduce a lot of changes. And a lot of times we tell people lose weight and come back. Myself, I know how difficult is it to lose weight, and I'm sure you wouldn't know it, but then we have to educate our patients. Even losing 1 to 2 kgs in a month is going to make so much of a difference to them. They can see a lot of regularity in their periods itself. Like I mentioned, the acne can come down. So lifestyle is the best modality of a treatment for a polycystic ovary. But then in spite of which, if it doesn't work, then we try to address what is that person looking at. Now we are discussing a wide range of 20 to 40 years. So if you're unmarried and you're just looking at irregular cycles, we do have medications provided the lifestyle doesn't work. I always tell my patients, lifestyle modification is the first and the best method to treat a polycystic ovary. Now, I always like to run things parallelly, then one after the other. So while she works on the weight loss and the diet, we can put her on some medications which is available to regularize her cycle. Polycystic people also end up with fertility issues at times. So if they are looking at a pregnancy, then we do have medications to help them, and we run a IVF center. We also take off a lot of infertility patients here where we can give medications to make them ovulate and conceive. Now, if you have conceived and later you develop because of the weight gain, again, like I said, again, the mantra is always going to be lifestyle modification. Along with that, we think, does she need a contraception and doesn't she need a contraception? So depending on these, we have various medications to help you and treat specific treatment along, or the specific complaint that you have along with the polycystic ovary. So it's definitely treatable.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Any surgical treatment is available for polycystic ovaries, and which patient require these surgeries?
Yes, we do have a surgery called as ovarian drilling that we can consider, but then I wouldn't put it as the first modality of treatment. I would put it almost at the end, especially in people who are looking at fertility. That is, if you have tried, remember I told you that we can do an ovulation induction where we can give them medicines to help them conceive. While I have tried several cycles, she's not ovulating or she's requiring a high number of dosages for making her ovulate, then we can think about laparoscopic ovarian drilling. But remember, this is not a permanent treatment. This effect of the surgery stays only for 6 months. So she needs to conceive within this 6 months, and we have to go a little aggressive. Is something that I can think of as a surgical modality for her.
Okay, ma'am. So lifestyle change is the permanent
Yes.
treatment for the PCOS.
Best as well.
Okay, ma'am. And the another problem facing by the women is the pain during menstrual cycle. Why they are getting so much of pain during periods, and because of the pain, the daily activities also it is disturbing. So what are the causes?
True. I think it's a wonderful question that you have picked on, and I liked when you said that it's hindering the activity. So like I said, we are here to celebrate womanhood, and then imagine on every monthly basis and every frequent weeks that she's going through a dysmenorrhea, it's hindering her activity, and this is not what we want our women to suffer with. like I said always, if somebody who's very active has very less chances of getting painful periods. Provided you are still active and if you still think you have periods, it's better to get evaluated. While we do a scan, accidentally we can see a ovarian cyst being there. Sometimes we can detect fibroids being there. Sometimes it is just the passage is not good, and if they have already married and then they need a dilatation of the cervix can be considered at times. But sometimes there's a high probability of picking up a fibroid or an ovarian cyst.
So what are the treatment we will give to this patient?
Okay, so if we are talking about fibroid, depends on the size of the fibroid that we have diagnosed. If it's outside the uterus, we call it as a subserosal fibroid, then we don't have to be worried until unless it's like really small. But if it's more than 5-6 centimeters, or we say pressure symptoms, like if it's too much in the anterior, it's causing a compression on the bladder, or if it's behind posterior and causing a compression on the bowel, and you have any of the symptoms of bladder, bowel, you need a surgical treatment. Otherwise, if it's inside the uterus, we call this as an intramyometrial fibroid. Then they can also end up having this excessive flow with painful periods. And again, if it is small, we do have some medications. Oral medications can be taken. Otherwise, medicated copper T can be inserted. If it is too big, only then we come into surgical modalities. And here, as a surgical modality, we do open method, we do minimal invasive surgeries. Quite a lot happens here where we do laparoscopic and robotic surgeries to treat the fibroid and the cyst as well. Again, cyst also is the same thing. If it's very small, then we don't have to be worried. But if it is big, or if it is endometriosis causing a lot of adhesions, then we think of surgery. Like I said, we have the best of the technology here. Robotic surgeries and all can be done, considered for them. Depending on the size and the location of the fibroid and the cyst and the kind of the cyst, we can take a decision.
Okay. And 20 to 40 years age group is the most reproductive age group. But nowadays, the couple attending the infertility clinic is increasing because the women delaying the marriage and women delaying the first childbirth may be one of the reason. If a couple coming to an infertility clinic, how we have to evaluate? What are the investigations we have to advise? Only the female has to be evaluated, or both the couples have to be evaluated? What is the...
When we say fertility itself, I always tell my patients that we form a triangle where we involve the female partner, the male partner and the doctor, and that is how we form a triangle, and that is the best way to achieve a pregnancy forward. And remember, at fertility issues, it's not a blame game that we are trying to play that she has a problem or he has a problem. Here we are here to detect what is the problem so that we can address and help them conceive faster and take home a bundle of joy, is what I always say. So while we are trying to look at sending them with a bundle of joy, we need to evaluate. Like I said, it could be a fibroid, it could be a cyst, or the polycystic ovary that we discussed in detail. So the other question that you were asking about delaying a pregnancy, while we are celebrating the womanhood, we are also forgetting that as the female are becoming more independent, the age of marriage is getting delayed. But I want all of you to remember, as the age advances, there's a very high chance of having Down syndrome. For no reason, I would say please refrain from pushing your pregnancy much delayed or later. Try and conceive at the earliest, because as the age increases, there's a higher probability of having a Down syndrome. But for some reason, if you still think it is worthwhile and you want to plan your pregnancy, we also have facilities for doing oocyte preservations. Is something that we have already doing it for quite a lot of people, where we preserve your oocytes and you can come back and use it at your convenient time. And this is a very good option for even patients who are suffering with cancer. While you go through a cancer treatment, you're going through a chemotherapy, radiotherapy, where your oocytes are going to come down. Even for the male partner, you mentioned, are we doing something for them? If they have been diagnosed with the cancer, we can also preserve their semen, so that while they recover from their cancer, we can use it at a later date. Similar with the oocytes. And then we also do ovarian tissue cryopreservation. So before you start your chemotherapy, radiotherapy, we preserve a part of the tissue and we can put it back and you can ovulate naturally. Something that we consider. Per se, we have to evaluate both the male and the female partner in detail, including the tubal test, are you ovulating or not, semen analysis, all these things is the basic thing that needs to be done.
Okay. So after evaluating, what are the treatment modalities available for the infertility, is the treatment is same for all the couples, or it should be individualized?
Blanket treatment is never practiced, at least our center, because it has to be individualized, and that is when we get the best result for all our patients. Because somebody could be having an ovarian problem, and somebody may not be ovulating well, somebody may be having issues at the tube, or somebody may be having an issue at the male partner level. So it is individualized treatment. We try to identify. Sometimes we pick up patients where they have anemia. We pick up patients while during the evaluation of fertility they have thyroid issues. So all these parameters are checked. How is their ovarian reserve? Do we have to help them with that? So while we correct the medical problems that we have identified, and in case if they end up with low ovarian reserve, or they have tried sufficiently outside and come to us, we also, along with ovulation induction, IUIs, we also do a lot of IVF here as well. So IVF is something that can be considered if you've tried sufficiently and you have a low ovarian reserve as well.
Okay, ma'am. In the reproductive age group, all women's dream is a pregnancy. But nowadays, the pregnancy is also so complicated. Women are facing a lot of health issues in the pregnancy. So what are the common health problems facing by the women in pregnancy?
I think this is related to your previous question. Like I said, as and when you push your pregnancy a little longer, so older the women, higher the chances of diabetes, hypertension, and like you said, a lot of associated complications because of hypertension and diabetes per se. So we evaluate them thoroughly as soon as they conceive. So many times, like I said, with the increase in the age, we also have a Down syndrome which is associated. A lot of anomalous babies, especially anemia also can be picked up because everybody is busy working and you don't concentrate on the nutritious food that you're looking at. So anemia can be there, and then we have all modalities to correct. So it can be taken care of. And sometimes while we do a ovulation induction or an IVF, there are probability of multiple pregnancies. Multiple pregnancy itself, you are at a high risk of having any medical problems. Sometimes they end up with abortions, high risk abortions where they have frequent abortions, recurrent abortions. So we can treat all these things if they come in very early. We identify a lot of medical problems and then we can address these issues as well.
We are seeing a lot of patients facing anemia problem during pregnancy. So how can we avoid anemia during pregnancy? Is it avoidable?
Definitely avoidable, but then I would say instead of starting at pregnancy and knowing that you're anemic, it all dates back at a very young age. I would say at the adolescent age group. So, and further moving on from reproduction to menopause, everything is what you have inculcated in the past. So it's a journey that you have passed through, and it's not just at the moment of a pregnancy. That's because if your nutrition has been bad, your reserves are less, your stores are less. This is why you're starting a pregnancy at a lower storage or a low phase or a anemic phase. So it's better that you concentrate about your nutrition, your diet right from your adolescent age group, and this is where a mother plays a very important role. Train your kids to eat nutritious food, iron-rich food, like we always tell, eat palak, methi. Our own food that we grow at the backyard or our own original foods are very important. Like you can eat a lot of jaggery and the poha, all these things are very rich. Like I said, palak, methi is all a good source of iron. And even if you can end up taking 2 or 3 iron tablets just during the menstrual period itself is good. And per se in pregnancy, we give them iron tablets. So as per the government, we say at least 100 tablets in this pregnancy of 9 months is very important. And on regular basis, we evaluate when we start your pregnancy, and even at the middle, we check are you your hemoglobin is coming down or not.
Okay, ma'am. And one more health issue facing by the woman is white discharge. What is white discharge? How we have to treat the patient?
Yes, I think white discharge is one of the common symptoms that we have a lot of patients coming up with. Please remember, again, if it's just before your period, a little after your period, or mid-cycle, that's 14-15 days after your cycle, if you have a discharge, it's very common. You have to be worried if it is foul smelling, if it is greenish or yellowish in color, that is when it is worrisome. And if you find it a little blood tinge, it's worrisome. Most of the times it's physiological change, you don't have to get worried. But like I mentioned, if any of these foul smelling or change in the color is seen, you have to get it evaluated. We are looking at sexually transmitted disease or any infections like fungal infection, Candid infection is what we have to rule out. And the best way is anybody who's sexually active for more than 3 years, you can consider doing a pap smear test. This is a very good screening test to diagnose cervical cancer. Can you believe it? If a pap smear is done, we can identify somebody who will be getting a cancer almost 5 to 10 years much earlier. And it's always good to do a pap smear at least once in 3 to 5 years, we say. So keep doing it until the age of 65 years, and if your previous reports have come normal, then you can refrain from that. So I think that's a good thing to be done as a screening modality.
Okay, ma'am. So till now we discussed health issues facing by the women between 20 to 40 years of age group. What are the health problems facing by the women after the age of 40 years, ma'am?
40 years, as you're transiting to reproductive to perimenopausal age groups, again you can go back to similar complaints of irregular cycles, scanty flow, excessive flow, all these things are there. And now again you're at a high risk for ovarian cyst, fibroids. So any of these issues, it has to be addressed quickly, and concentrate again on your nutrition, your hemoglobin. Calcium is very important because your bone mass can be coming down, you're prone for fractures, so you have to work on all these things, improving your calcium. Check your vitamin D and B on regular basis, and that is when you have a smooth transition from reproductive to menopausal age group.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful discussion and enlightening us with your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think I enjoyed discussing this wonderful topic with you. Wishing you all a great Women's Day. Thank you.